We are biased. We think time flows forward. We think an egg breaks but never unbreaks. We think you get older, not younger. We think heat flows from hot coffee to cold air, never the other way around. But what if we are wrong? What if this flow isn't a rule of the universe but just a rule of our side of the universe? Imagine a mirror world, a world made entirely of antimatter. In this world, their clocks might tick opposite to ours. Their future is our past. While we are busy exploding outwards from the Big Bang, they are rushing backwards towards it. What if there are civilizations out there right now living in reverse, evolving under a thermodynamic arrow that points the other way? It sounds impossible, but the laws of physics don't actually forbid it. In fact, they might demand it. To understand an antimatter civilization living in reverse, we have to start with the most confusing thing in our daily lives: time. We feel time. It drags when you are bored, it flies when you are having fun. But to a physicist, time is just a coordinate. It is like left or right. If you look at the fundamental equations that govern an atom, the laws of mechanics, gravity, electromagnetism, they work perfectly fine if you run time backwards. If you video recorded two billiard balls colliding and played it in reverse, it would look completely natural. The physics works both ways. This is called time reversal symmetry. So why doesn't real life look like that? Why does a shattered vase never reassemble itself? This is where the second law of thermodynamics comes in. It says that entropy, which is a fancy word for disorder or randomness, always increases. Things get messier. Energy spreads out. We move from order to chaos. This increase in entropy gives time its arrow. We know which way is forward because forward is the direction where things get messier. But here is the twist: antimatter is the mirror image of matter. Every particle we know has an antiparticle. An electron has a positron. A proton has an antiproton. They are identical in mass but opposite in charge. When they meet, they annihilate. Boom, pure energy. Now there is a deep theorem in physics called CPT symmetry. It stands for charge, parity and time. It says that if you take the entire universe and flip the charge, that is swap matter for antimatter, flip the parity, that is look at it in a mirror, and flip the time, that is run it backward, the physics must remain exactly the same. The laws of nature must hold true. This implies something mind-bending. If you have a universe made of antimatter and you flip its parity, it behaves like our universe, running backward in time. This leads to the wild hypothesis: what if the Big Bang created two universes, one made of matter moving forward in time, that is us, and one made of antimatter moving backward in time, that is them? Let us visualize this. Imagine the Big Bang is the 0 point on a number line. We are moving towards the positive numbers +1, +2, +3 years. We see the universe expanding and cooling. But on the negative side, -1, -2, -3, there is another universe. To an observer in that negative universe, time flows away from 0, just like us. They think they are moving forward, but from our perspective, looking at their timeline, they are moving away from us into the past. Now imagine a civilization evolving there. Let us call them the anti-people. They are made of anti-carbon, anti-water, breathing anti-oxygen. To them, their world looks totally normal. Their entropy increases as they get further from the Big Bang. Their eggs break and don't unbreak. They remember their past, which is closer to the Big Bang, and plan for their future, which is further away. But here is the opposite thermodynamic bias. What happens if we try to interact? If we looked at them from our vantage point, their thermodynamic arrow is pointing the wrong way relative to us. We would see them evolving backward. Let us break down this reverse evolution concept because it is counterintuitive. Evolution relies on cause and effect. A mutation happens, that is cause, and if it is good, the creature survives, that is effect. In our world, the cause comes before the effect. But if the anti-people are living in a timeline that runs backward relative to ours, their causes are in our future. Suppose you could watch an anti-person through a magical telescope that bridges the two universes. What would you see? You would see a creature that starts as a corpse. Over time, it gets up, becomes younger, uneats food, unlearns knowledge, shrinks into a baby, and eventually vanishes into its mother's womb. This looks absurd to us, but to them, we are the ones doing the Benjamin Button act. We are the ones starting as corpses and ending as babies. It is purely a matter of perspective. The bias is just which direction you are pointing relative to the Big Bang. Let us go deeper into the thermodynamic bias. Thermodynamics is about probability. There are more ways to be messy than to be tidy. That is why entropy increases. But if the boundary conditions at the Big Bang forced an orderly start for both sides, then entropy increases in both directions away from the start. So an antimatter civilization isn't magic. They still need energy. They still need a sun. Their sun is an anti-star, fusing anti-hydrogen into anti-helium. It releases antiphotons, which are actually just photons because light is its own antiparticle. Wait, let us pause on that. Light is its own antiparticle. This is huge. It means light can travel between the matter world and the antimatter world without annihilating. If their sun shines, it emits photons. If those photons could somehow cross the temporal bridge to us, we could see them. But here is the problem: redshift. As we look back in time, things move away from us. The universe is expanding. If we look at the other side of the Big Bang, that side is also expanding away from the center. Space itself is stretching between us and them at a tremendous rate. The light from their anti-stars would be stretched so much it might be undetectable. However, let us assume for a moment that we could meet. What happens when a civilization with a forward thermodynamic arrow meets one with a backward arrow? This is the ultimate Tenet scenario, but on a galactic scale. Thermodynamics dictates how we think. We remember the past because the past has lower entropy. It is fixed. We don't remember the future because it has higher entropy. It is open. Our brains rely on the flow of heat and electrochemical signals which are driven by entropy increase. If the anti-people have an opposite bias, their brains work on the same principle but geared towards their future. If we meet in the middle, say at the Big Bang itself or via a wormhole connecting the two eras, communication would be impossible, not because of language but because of logic. To ask them a question, you speak. The sound waves leave your mouth. In their time frame, those sound waves are imploding into your mouth. They would hear your sentence backwards before you even thought of it. But it is worse. Their reaction to your question would happen in your past. Imagine you say hello to them. To them, they see you unsaying hello. But before you even started speaking, they would have already reacted to it. The causality is tangled. Let us simplify this with an analogy. Imagine two trains on parallel tracks. One is going north, that is us. One is going south, that is them. The past is the station in the middle. We are moving away from the station. They are moving away from the station. We can wave at each other as we pass, but we are heading to different destinations. We can't jump onto their train without stopping ours and reversing direction completely, which in physics terms means reversing every single particle in your body. Now let us explore the anti-mind. How does an intelligence evolve if its environment demands opposite thermodynamics relative to a hypothetical observer? Evolution is about maximizing survival. Survival means maintaining order. A living thing is a pocket of low entropy. You eat food that is high quality energy and excrete waste that is low quality heat to keep your internal structure organized. The anti people do the exact same thing. They eat anti food. They excrete waste heat. They maintain low entropy. The only difference is the coordinate label we put on time. This suggests that intelligence is universal, regardless of the time direction. The structure of a neuron or an anti-neuron processing information relies on distinguishing a signal from noise. That process works whether it is positive or negative. Whether time is positive or negative. So these anti-people would have philosophy, art, mathematics and love. They would feel just as real as we do. They would wonder if there is a matter universe out there where time runs backward. Let us discuss the Janus Point. This is a theory proposed by physicists like Julian Barbour. The Janus point is the moment of lowest entropy, the Big Bang, like the Roman god Janus, who had two faces looking in opposite directions. The Big Bang looks forward into our future and backward into their future. In this model, gravity is the sculptor. In the chaotic swarm of particles at the beginning, gravity naturally creates clumps. Clumping is a way of creating structure. As gravity pulls things together, the universe expands to balance it out. This happens in both directions. So the evolution of complexity, stars, galaxies, life is a natural consequence of gravity acting on a cloud of particles, regardless of time's arrow. This implies that the anti-civilization is inevitable. It isn't a freak accident. If you spill a box of Legos, that is Big Bang, and gravity is a rule that says Legos like to stick together, you will get castle built on the left side of the room and castle built on the right side. We are the castle on the right, they are the castle on the left. Now, what about the missing antimatter problem? This is one of the biggest mysteries in science. When we make particles in a lab, we always get 50% matter and 50% antimatter, always pairs. But when we look at the universe, it is 99.999% matter. Where did the antimatter go? Standard theories say maybe matter and antimatter annihilated early on, and there was a tiny imbalance, a billion and one protons for every billion antiprotons, and the one surviving proton is what makes us up. The rest is just light. But the opposite thermodynamic bias theory offers a much cleaner, more beautiful solution. The antimatter didn't disappear, it didn't lose, it just went the other way. It is safe and sound in the other lobe of time. The universe is perfectly balanced. We are just only looking at half of it. It is like looking at a person from the waist up and asking, where are their legs? The legs are there, just in the other direction. Let's get weird with it. Could we ever detect them? Gravity. Gravity might be the only thing that doesn't care about the arrow of time in a way that blocks communication. If the anti-universe has massive objects, anti-galaxies, anti-black holes, they do exert a gravitational pull on us. Some theories suggest that the dark energy pulling our universe apart might actually be the gravitational influence of the other universe. Or perhaps the dark matter is the shadow of matter from the other side. Imagine their galaxies are ghosts to us. We can't see them or touch them, but we feel their weight. If an anti-civilization built a mega structure, a Dyson sphere, around their anti-star, it would concentrate a huge amount of mass energy. If that mass interacts gravitationally across the timeline, we might see a spot in our sky where galaxies orbit nothing. We would call it a dark matter halo, but it might actually be an alien city from the mirror timeline. This is a profound thought. Dark matter might not be dark weird particles. It might be ordinary antimatter cities, stars and gas clouds, just causally separated from us by the direction of time. We are feeling the gravity of a world we can never visit. Let us talk about the CPT violation. We mentioned CPT symmetry is the rule, but recently we have found hints that some particles might violate this slightly. Neutrinos are the prime suspects. If neutrinos behave differently than antineutrinos, it might mean the two universes aren't perfect mirrors. One might be slightly heavier or live longer or evolve faster. If the anti-civilization evolved under a slightly different set of constants because of this violation, they might be drastically different from us. Maybe their periodic table is stable for heavier elements. Maybe they have anti-atoms with 200 protons that are stable, allowing for materials we can't even dream of. They could build spaceships out of unobtainium simply because their version of physics is tweaked by 0.001%. Now imagine the psychology of these beings. We fear death because it is the end of our entropy increasing journey. We fear the heat death of the universe, the time when everything is cold and dead. They would fear the exact same thing, but their heat death is in our deep past. That is their deep future. However, what if they figured out how to send a message? To send a message to us, that is their past, they would have to create a signal that travels backward in their time, which means forward in our time. Wait, a signal that moves forward in our time is just a normal signal. But for them to emit it, they have to maintain entropy in a way that reverses their local flow. This is like unbreaking an egg. To send this code, it requires massive energy. If they succeeded, what would we see? We would see a signal appearing out of nowhere without a source in our universe. A radio burst from empty space. We actually see these fast radio bursts or FRBs. We don't know what causes them. Maybe, just maybe, an FRB is an anti-civilization trying to punch a hole through the thermodynamic wall. Let us expand on the anti-biology. Biology is chemistry. Chemistry is electron shells interacting. Anti-chemistry is positron shells interacting. The bond strengths are the same. Water H2O and anti-water, anti-H2O, anti-O have the same freezing point, same boiling point, same surface tension. So their ocean waves crash the same way, their rain falls the same way. But there is subtle difference called chirality or handedness. Many biological molecules are left-handed or right-handed. Life on Earth uses exclusively left-handed amino acids. In the mirror universe, due to the parity flip, their biology would likely use right-handed anti-amino acids. If you teleported a stick from their world to ours and magically stopped it from exploding and you ate it, you would get zero nutrition. Your body's enzymes are shaped like gloves that only fit left-handed molecules. The right-handed anti-molecules would just slide right through, or worse, clog up your system. So, we couldn't even share a meal. We are fundamentally incompatible on a geometric level. Consider their science fiction. What do they write stories about? They probably write stories about a weird universe where time runs backward. That is our direction. They might imagine monsters made of matter that invade their world. To them, matter is the exotic, dangerous substance. Antimatter is just stuff. They wouldn't call themselves anti-people. They would call themselves people. We would be the anti-people to them. This relativity of nomenclature is important. Matter is just the label the winner gives themselves. Since we exist here, we call this matter. If we lived there, we would call that matter. It creates a beautiful symmetry of ego. Both sides think they are the real one. Let's dig into the void between us. The Big Bang. In the Janus Point theory, the Big Bang isn't a solid wall. It is a rarefied fog where particles are moving chaotically. As you go further from the center, the density drops and order forms. This means that travel from our world to theirs, you have to travel through the Big Bang. You would have to fly your spaceship backward in time, shrinking the universe around you, heating it up until it becomes a soup of quark gluon plasma, surviving the infinite density, and then emerge on the other side as the universe cools down again. Obviously, you can't survive that. The temperature is billions of degrees. Your atoms would melt into energy. The information that makes you would be scrambled. This is the ultimate barrier. It is not a distance barrier, it is a thermal barrier. The gate is locked by heat. But what about information? Can information survive the pass through the Big Bang? Some theories like conformal cyclic cosmology (CCC) which suggest information can bleed through. But in the Janus model, the information is generated at the middle and flows outward. The Big Bang is the fountainhead. It is the source of the river. The river flows left and right. Information doesn't go from left to right. It starts in the middle and goes both ways. This means we share a common origin. We are siblings. We have the same DNA, the laws of physics, and the same parents. That is the initial singularity. But we have never met. Let us think about the sky of the anti-world. Is it the same sky? If the quantum fluctuations in the early universe were random, then the specific arrangement of their galaxies is completely different. They don't have a Milky Way. They don't have Andromeda. Their constellations are unique. However, if the fluctuations were deterministic, if the math of the Big Bang has only one solution, then their universe is a perfect mirror of ours. They have an anti-Milky Way. They have an anti-Earth. They have an anti-You. This is the mirror universe trope, but grounded in physics. If the universe is deterministic, then right now on anti-Earth, anti-You is reading a script about matter civilizations. But quantum mechanics usually implies randomness, so it is most likely that their world is physically similar. Stars, planets, but geographically unique. They have different maps. Let us explore the ethics of annihilation. Matter and antimatter destroy each other. If we ever found a way to open a portal, it would be the most dangerous weapon ever conceived. A single handshake would trigger a nuclear explosion. Opening a window would ignite the atmosphere. The safest thing for both civilizations is to never meet. Isolation is survival. The opposite thermodynamic bias is a protective shield. It keeps the explosives separate from the spark. The universe is designed to keep us apart for our own good. But curiosity is a powerful force. If they are intelligent, they are curious. They will build colliders, they will smash anti-atoms to see what happens. When they smash anti-atoms, they might create pairs of matter and antimatter, just like we create pairs. They trap the matter, which is exotic to them, and study it. So somewhere in an anti-CERN, there are anti-scientists looking at a few atoms of gold suspended in a magnetic trap. They are marveling at it. Look, they say, it has a positive nucleus and negative electrons. How bizarre. They are studying us one atom at a time. This implies that while the civilizations can't mix, the knowledge can. We know about positrons because we make them. They know about electrons because they make them. We are discovering each other through the language of high energy physics. Let us revisit the arrow of time and memory. We said memory depends on entropy, but is it possible to remember the future? There are obscure solutions to physics equations that allow for closed time-like curves, loops in time. If an anti-civilization is advanced enough, could they manipulate the geometry of space-time to loop their backward timeline into our forward one? This would look like a U-turn. A spaceship leaves their timeline, swings around a supermassive black hole or a distinct topological defect, and enters our timeline, moving in our direction. To do this, they would have to invert their entropy flow. They would have to build a machine that effectively pumps entropy out of their ship to match our local gradient. This is thermodynamically expensive. It is like trying to keep a refrigerator cold inside a blast furnace. You can do it, but you need a massive power source. If they did this, they would appear in our universe as beings made of antimatter, but moving forward in time with us. They would still be walking bombs, one touch and boom. But they could theoretically communicate. They could use lasers, light to talk. We come from the other side, they would say. We are your shadows. What wisdom could they offer? They have seen the universe evolve from a different perspective. Maybe their side has different concentrations of elements. Maybe their side didn't have as many black holes. They effectively ran the universe simulation a second time. They are the control group. Comparing our notes with theirs would solve physics instantly. We would know what is random and what is fundamental. There is also the concept of gravitational repulsion. Standard physics says antimatter falls down just like matter. Gravity is attractive, but we haven't experimentally proven this 100% yet. Though recent experiments at CERN suggest it does fall down. But what if antimatter falls up? If antimatter is anti-gravity, then the two universes would repel each other. They would push apart. This would explain the expansion of the universe naturally. The two halves of the Big Bang are shoving each other away. If this is true, the anti-civilization is riding a wave of repulsion. Their architecture would be different. Levitation would be easier. Their planets might be fluffier. This is speculative, but anti-gravity is a staple of sci-fi for a reason. In this context, it isn't magic. It is just the property of the other side. Let us simplify the CPT concept again with an analogy. Think of a globe, a right-handed globe. C, that is charge, turn the leather into anti-leather. P, that is the parity, turn it inside out. Now it looks like a left-handed globe. Time, run the movie of the globe being made backward. If you do all three, the globe fits perfectly onto a negative hand in the negative timeline. The symmetry is beautiful. The universe hates asymmetry. It loves balance. The existence of a single direction universe, just us, is actually uglier mathematically than a dual direction universe. The two-sided universe is the more elegant solution. Now consider the Fermi paradox. Where is everybody? Why haven't we seen aliens? Maybe the universe is teeming with life, but 50% of it is on the other time lobe. We are only scanning half the house. We are looking in the living room, but the party is also happening in the kitchen, and the door is locked. And for the civilizations in our timeline, maybe they are too far away, but the anti-civilization isn't far in distance. They are far in time. They could be specially right on top of us. Imagine a ghost story where the ghost isn't a dead spirit, but a living being from the negative timeline occupying the same space coordinates but separated by the time vector. They are walking through your room right now, but because their atoms are vibrating in a reverse temporal phase, metaphorically speaking, they don't interact with you. This leads to quantum interference. In quantum mechanics, particles behave like waves. Waves can interfere. Can the wave function of the matter universe interfere with the wave function of the antimatter universe? Some theorists suggests that this interference is what causes quantum weirdness. Maybe the reason an electron seems to be in two places at once is because it is interacting with its mirror twin from the other timeline. The multiverse isn't infinite parallel worlds, it is just two, the real and the anti-real, and they rub against each other at the quantum level. So every time you see a quantum effect, tunneling, entanglement, you are seeing the friction between the two arrowheads of time. The anti-civilization isn't just out there, their reality is the substrate of our quantum mechanics. Let us scale this up to cosmic horror. If the two universes eventually stop expanding and crunch back together, the big crunch, we will meet. The forward arrow and the backward arrow will collide at the end of time. As the universe contracts, we get closer to them. The light from their galaxy starts blue shifting, that is gaining energy and hitting us. We start to see them. They start to see us. We are racing towards a mutual annihilation. The end of the universe isn't a whimper, it's a reunion. A violent, energetic reunion where matter and antimatter embrace and return to pure energy. The two halves of the coin melt back into the metal. This makes the life of a civilization a temporary excursion from unity. We split, we explore, we learn, and then we crash back together to report our findings to the cosmos in a flash of gamma rays. But let us pull back to the now. What if the bias is local? What if the universe is a patchwork? Maybe there are pockets of antimatter inside our universe that we think are just normal galaxies. If a distant galaxy is made of antimatter, how would we know? It emits photons. Photons look the same. We can't tell if a photon came from a sodium atom or an anti-sodium atom. They are identical. The only way to know if that galaxy collides with a gas cloud of normal matter, then we would see huge gamma ray fireworks. Since we don't see massive annihilation borders everywhere, we assume the universe is mostly sorted. The anti-pockets are rare or non-existent in our neighborhood. This reinforces the idea that the antimatter is sequestered in the other time or other place. Let us talk about entropy as a fuel. We consume low entropy. The anti-people consume low entropy. We are both heating from the same battery. That is the Big Bang. We are draining the battery from the positive terminal. They are draining it from the negative terminal. Eventually the battery dies. This is the heat death. But if we are moving in opposite directions, are we recharging the battery for each other? This is a wild idea. Some cyclic models suggest that the waste, that is high entropy of our universe, wraps around and becomes the food, that is low entropy of the other universe. This would create a perpetual motion machine of cosmos, a snake eating its own tail. If this is true, the anti-civilization is necessary for our existence. They are the yin to our yang. Without them processing the other side of the galaxy cycle, our side would stall. We are part of a cosmic ecology. Let us illustrate retrocausality. In our world, the past determines the future. In their world, from our perspective, their future, that is our past, determines their past, that is our future. If you look at the whole timeline as a block, the block universe, everything exists at once. The flow is an illusion of consciousness. In the block universe, the anti-civilization is just a static pattern in the 4D crystal of space-time. They are a complex braid of world lines spiraling away from the center. We are a braid spiraling the other way. The structure is fixed. This means their history is already written, and so is ours. They aren't evolving in a way that can change the outcome. They are tracing a path that is already laid out. But to the conscious minds inside the path, it feels like free will. It feels like a struggle. Imagine the anti-artist. They paint a picture. They start with a blank canvas. Low entropy for them, high entropy for us in a sense. They apply paint. The image forms. If we watch this in reverse, we would see a finished painting. Then the painter would scrape the paint off, separate the pigments, and put them back in the tubes. The canvas would end up blank. This unpainting is exactly what natural decay looks like to us. Paint chips, fades and falls out. So to us, their creative process looks like decay, and our creative process looks like decay to them. Look at those matter people, they would say. They are destroying that beautiful building, turning it into piles of bricks and rock clay. We are actually building it. They are sucking the words out of the book and leaving blank pages. We are writing it. This is the ultimate misunderstanding. Constructive action in one time direction looks like destructive entropy in the other. We would view each other as monsters of destruction, when in reality we are both builders. We just build towards different horizons. Let us assume there is a neutral zone, a place where time doesn't flow. This would be a region of pure light. Photons don't experience time. A photon based intelligence, if such a thing is possible, would live on the border. They could see both sides. These beings of light would be mediators. They would see the matter civilization rising on the right and the antimatter civilizations rising on the left. To them, the universe is a symmetric flower opening up. Could we become them? Could an advanced civilization transcend matter? If we upload our minds into light, into lasers or photonic circuits, we become timeless. We step out of the thermodynamic river. If we did that, we could finally turn our heads and see the anti-people. We would see the full picture. So the ultimate goal of evolution might be to escape the bias, to escape the error of time, to become symmetric. Until then, we are trapped in our flow. We are trapped in the matter bias. We assume the universe was made for us. But the math screams that we are only half the story. The opposite, thermodynamic bias, isn't a problem to be solved. It is a feature of reality. It maximizes the utility of the Big Bang. It allows existence to flourish in two directions instead of one. It is efficient. Nature loves efficiency. So are they out there? The math says yes. The symmetry says yes. The emptiness of our sky says maybe. We might never shake their hands, which is good because we did explode. We might never read their books, but knowing they might exist changes how we feel about the dark. The dark isn't empty, it is just moving the other way. Every time you look at a clock ticking forward, imagine a clock somewhere else ticking backward. Every time you breathe out, imagine someone else breathing in. The universe breathes in both directions. So the next time you drop a glass and watch it shatter, remember somewhere in a mirror universe, 1,000 shards of glass might be rushing together to form a perfect cup, and a creature made of antimatter is holding it, wondering why anyone would think time only goes one way. Thank you for watching, and may we keep theorizing these bizarre cosmologies, science, and explore the full spectrum of the information, the possibility space, not be constrained by our resource limited, overpolluted physical world, Earth, that needs to be preserved. New theories have the potential to reveal that which we considered impossible, or that we considered fundamental was actually wrong. We should keep theorizing all sorts of future possibilities: artificial intelligence, longevity extension, climate reversal. These help us prepare for transformative changes before they arrive. We actually need to create utopia on Earth first, before expanding into outer space. We must protect, preserve the physical world and embrace the virtual world. Embrace the AI, merge with it, and reach technological singularity, a heaven, utopian Earth.